Hi, YouTube. My name is Heather, and I love anti-MLM content here on YouTube. Today, I'm really excited for us to watch one part of a Beachbody corporate training done by two corporate employees. This individual employee is going to tell us about the 5 things that successful Beachbody coaches do. Now, this is a slightly old video from August 2020, so she's telling us about how to be successful in Beachbody in 2020. The second part of this video is from Doug Moss, and I'm pretty sure his title is VP of Coach Development, and he's going into detail about the compensation plan. I'm really excited to watch part 1 of this video, and please let me know what you think down below.
All right, so number 1 again was commit to a program. Number 2 is staying in phase 1 using that successful system tracker.
So number 1, commit to a program. I'm assuming they probably forgot to click record. That happens. Commit to a program. They always say, oh, to be successful, you must go all in with a program. You must, but you don't get paid for working out. You don't get paid for going all in a program. You get paid if you're posting it a lot on social media and someone happens to say, hey, I want to buy a challenge pack, or hey, I want to join your team. The second tip is stay in phase 1 with the business activity tracker, is what she just said. She is saying a lot here without really saying anything at all. I think it's a pretty average MLM training, lots of motivation, inspiration, with very little tactical information, but that's what the second part of this video will be.
Staying in phase 1 means finding times to work your business. We're in back to school season, right? We're in a lot of change right now. And so finding the time to work your business may mean that you and your spouse on Sunday get together and plan your week out. The kids have this, the kids have that, e-learning's here, right? Where you plan out your week in order to figure out when you can work your business.
That's a good practice in general, even if you're not in an MLM scheme, just so you know, like you and your partner are on the same page. You're like, okay, I'm taking this kid to doctors, I'm taking this kid to piano, just so you know what to do. It's not really a revolutionary idea, in my opinion.
I encourage coaches to not use the wording work their business, but instead to own their business. And I think that when you have that approach that I own this business, I don't just work it, you'll find time to work your business. Does that make sense how I just said it? So when you own your business, you're more likely to find time to work it. But even if you can't work it like a sit down full power hour, going through that successful system tracker and finding those top business producing activities.
So she said even though she told us to work our business when we can, she does not want us to use the term work our business and instead own our business. And then if we have that mindset in our head, then we'll magically randomly find time to do the business activity tracker. And she's going to go into the details of the income producing activities, the main ones on that tracker. Just because we've randomly changed a wording does not mean that our schedule is just going to magically fix itself. What do you think?
Doing those in the cracks of time. First thing in the morning when you wake up, taking care of you. That's how you can continue to move your business forward. Owning your business, setting business hours or non-business hours.
For anyone who's been in Beachbody, did you set business hours and did people actually respect those hours? So was you ever like pressured from your upline to sign up coaches, even though it was at like 11 p.m. because they wanted you to rank up so they could rank up? Or say you set your business hours from like 4 until 6 every day, but then were there team calls after 6 o'clock that you were expected to be at, even though it didn't fall within your business hours? Because I feel like that's a great thing to say, but I just wonder if that time boundary is actually going to be respected in practice.
And then lastly with this, finding your 6 to 7. And what I mean by that is if 1 is couch potato and 10 is lock yourself in a room, charge hell with a bucket of water towards your goals, most coaches
10 is something about locking yourself in a room and charging with a bucket of water towards your goals. So I'm assuming that would just be like working constantly all the time.
Who are reaching their desired success, they've identified what 6 to 7 means for them, and that's where they live. However, there are months when we live at an 8, 9, 10. Months like this month, cup month, You might be at an 8, 9, 10, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes, there is. What if you are getting like overwhelmed and burnt out, and say you have a couple kids who get up early for activities every single morning, and you are working your business from like 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. and then you're waking up at 6 and you're barely sleeping. It's not okay to be working constantly, but in MLM and Beachbody, that kind of toxic hustle is idolized. It's a good thing to be working constantly because it means that you are invested in your business. But in reality, working out of 10 would mean no time with your family, no time on hobbies, very, very little sleep, no going to your children's baseball games, even though you were recruited in on the promise that you could go to your children's baseball games. So I love how she's a corporate employee sitting there saying it's okay if you're at a 10, even though it means you're going to be extremely burnt out. That doesn't make any sense. I don't like that. Stop that, please. Also, isn't it interesting that Beachbody coaches are taught to idolize these corporate employees like Carl Deichler? He's not the employee, like this person, like Doug Moss, but they're in the dreaded corporate America, who they are required to work at a certain time. I'm assuming like most corporations have certain required hours, and they're trading time for money. Even though you think as a Beachbody coach that trading your time for money is an employee mindset and it's negative and no one should want to do that, you need to be an entrepreneur who trades effort for money. But this person that you're listening to right now trades her time for money. I'm assuming she probably has a wage or a salary that is paid for by Beachbody coaches.
And next month we'll come back and we'll live at our 6, 7. So staying in phase 1 also means that there will be months that we go bigger, we go harder, we 2x, we 5x, we 10x maybe. And then we come back and we live at our 6 to 7. 3 characteristic or a tip from coaches who are reaching their desired success is this ideology of fast and strong, fast and strong, fast and strong. Now,
why are you yelling at me?
Now, fast and strong is still defined by you. You still get to define what fast means for you. But
I doubt that. I bet if a coach is trying to get to elite and they have a downline coach that needs to get to a certain rank so they can be elite, I doubt that a coach is going to be able to actually define what fast and strong means for them. I've seen stories across YouTube about with Beachbody coaches talking about how they stayed up till like 1 a.m. on the last night of the month to like meet their requirements, or right before payday to like meet their rank requirements. I doubt that coaches can actually define that. What do you think?
You cannot build momentum slowly. Momentum is built going fast and strong. And so fast and strong means that you are helping someone daily with something. Fast and strong means that they're going emerald weekly and they're teaching that weekly. Fast and strong means that they are helping to teach their coaches how to have just regular conversations with people.
Didn't you just tell us we can define what fast and strong means to us? And how come you're now telling us what fast and strong has to mean? And who in the world goes emerald every single week? If you don't remember what that means, emerald is 2 coaches, one on the left, one on the right. So even though she just told us we get to define what it means for ourselves, she's telling us that we need to get 2 coaches every single week. And that means we need to have, I can't do math, 8 coaches every single month. Yeah, right. If you've been in Beachbody, were you able to do 8 coaches every single month? I doubt it. I doubt the vast majority of coaches were not able to get that many people.
Like normal conversations with people, because that's what we do.
Beachbody coaches are not taught to have normal conversations. They're taught to form relationships with people on the internet for the purpose of selling or recruiting them into their downline. And therefore, none of the conversations are normal. None of them are sincere or genuine. They enter into conversations with a specific purpose, and it is financial monetary gain. And it's so sad that all of these coaches are taught to do that, and comes from the top, starts from Carl Deichler, and is passed the way down the pyramid, in my opinion.
And with all this, their personal goals are all different, but most likely they will attain their personal goals by going emerald over and over again, by hitting Success Club, monthly and 5, then 10, then more, right? Depending on what your goals are.
Their definition of hitting Success Club monthly, it's generally selling 3 challenge packs a month, and you could be signing them up as coaches too, or you could just be like selling them a one-off challenge pack. So it doesn't automatically mean that you're signing coaches.
Retaining people, thus getting them continued results, and that's the volume component.
Sorry, all the pausing. Yes, you want to keep people in the system for as long as possible so they can keep contributing to your weak or strong leg volume. And so then you can also have a match bonus off of them. And then your upline and their upline and their upline and their upline, they also will collect volume off of that person too. So it's in all the coaches' best interest to keep their people in for as long as possible.
And then they're duplicating, and that duplication comes by asking people to link arms and to do this with you, and helping them see the vision of what's possible by you sharing your success, how you define it, not allowing society to define it for you.
I hate the saying link arms with, like, you're not linking arms with anyone. You're just making sure, in my opinion, that people in your downline are meeting their requirements so you can meet your rank requirements, in my opinion. And she's saying define success based on like what's important to you. No, I don't think that's true. I feel like Beachbody coaches will be taught to define success based on rank, based on income, based on the financial contribution they're making to their upline's business. What do you think?
So my follow-up question would be, what is your goal? We just mentioned that we're coming out of our end of the year celebration. From now until the end of the year, what is it? And if you don't have it clearly defined, use this weekend to clearly define it. And then once you clearly define it, have that strategy clearly broken down. Use this weekend to make sure you have your strategy outlined. Now, here's a challenge for you.
That literally doesn't mean anything. Yes, have a clear goal. Can you give an example? Do you mean a rank goal by a certain time? Do you mean a number of coaches? Do you mean a Success Club goal? Tell us, give us an example of what you mean, and then we could visualize what making a strategy would mean. In my opinion, I feel like I need an example.
If you have set goals at the beginning of the year and you've already reached them, set a new goal from now through the end of the year. If you set goals at the beginning of the year that are unrealistic for you to think that you can attain, which I grew up in the household that if the actions are possible to match the goal and you're willing to have the actions match the goal, then you can do anything. But if you're feeling like it's unrealistic, then set a new goal, right?
Do you like the subtle shaming of people who think their goals are unrealistic? She's pretty much saying you have to just do the required tasks, and then all your goals are going to be realistic. So, Miss Corporate Employee at Beachbody, my goal is to be a millionaire. That doesn't just magically mean I'm a millionaire, right? Like, I'm not going to do all the tasks to make me a millionaire, but it doesn't mean I'm going to achieve it. What do you think?
From now to the end of the year. And in my opinion, after Doug's conversation, where he's going to go in detail about the compensation plan in a second, that should be the first thing that you guys talk about. What is the goal from now through the end of the year? What is the strategy? What exactly do we need to focus on every day in order to get you there? 4, get excited about the future of Beachbody. So coaches who are reaching their desired success, they brand themselves. So that's a tip. However, they bleed Beachbody blue, and they bleed Beachbody blue even though they're branding themselves because of all of the excitement, momentum that's happening. So
excuse me. So there's a big difference between, I think, just being being excited and proud to work where you work and bleeding Beachbody blue. That's a little bit culty to me. I've never been in a workplace where people say, you have to just, your whole life has to be our company. No, I've always had outside hobbies, outside interests. I've never had my entire life revolved around a company. And when I hear bleed Beachbody blue, in my mind, it seems like Beachbody could take over the lives of their coaches, and it just becomes who they are. What do you think? Do you agree with that?
Talking about the product and program releases. And by the way, We just had an incredible launch last month. We have a launch happening this month, but guess what? You can relaunch programs over and over and over at any time you want. If you feel like launch months are the month where your business goes, relaunch it every single month. Relaunch a program every single month. Right? So get excited about that. Get excited about our nutrition programs. Get excited about how BOD groups allows you and your new coaches and people who have no entrepreneurship, no network marketing experience to professionalize their business. Right? Get excited about our compensation plan, which is one of the easiest to understand and to maximize. They're finding things to.
No, the compensation plan is extremely complicated for a reason. So coaches look at that and they don't really understand what they have to do to make money, if they even know that it exists. So they don't know that the vast majority of their income comes from recruitment. I think that's hilarious. No MLM compensation plan is easy to understand. It's all confusing. It's all complicated. And she said it's the easiest to maximize. That's technically true. If you're at the top of the company and you have hundreds or thousands of people in your downline, because you're going to be cycling constantly. You're like, if you have a massive downline and you just keep on cycling, it's going to be easy for you. And then if you have a bunch of coaches that you recruited directly who are cycling, you're going to collect a lot of money off of their cycle. So yes, she's technically not lying.
To be excited about. Be excited about the recognition program, about the lead program, which is.
Why would you be excited about useless prizes? The Success Club prizes are the dumbest things ever. You get like sunglasses, a crappy backpack, a massage wand. Why can't you pay me? If I meet this amazing milestone in my business, why can't I be paid? Why can't you pay me the monetary value of all those prizes so I actually have some money? Beachbody.
Is unique to Beachbody. They're finding ways to be excited, finding things to be excited about with the future of Beachbody. And that excitement is what's attractive. That excitement is what allows them to brand themselves. So they're branding themselves, they're branding their team, their groups, but they are excited about the future of Beachbody.
So if we're not excited about the future of Beachbody, is that why we don't make any money? Is that why we can't recruit anyone? I think that's another way of reverting the blame from the obviously pyramid scheme structure that defrauds people constantly, putting the blame not on that, but instead on the individual, because you're not excited enough. You don't have the right mindset. We've talked about that in all of the business activity tracker videos. It's just a way to say, to look back at the tasks that the coaches are doing and say, you're unsuccessful because of ABC, not because of the structure.
Beachbody. And then lastly, they're bold, they're brave, and they're relentless, meaning they don't have if in 1 year I don't reach this, I'm quitting. They don't have a way out. They refuse to quit. And this is I feel like sometimes people look at people who have reached a certain level and they're like, oh,
sorry, so I'm going to just react to what she just said, and then we can go on. She said people are successful because they don't quit. They don't have a backup plan. They don't say, after a year, if I'm not here, I'm going to quit. I think I've mentioned this before. Jessica Hickson had a video a little while ago from a top It Works representative talking about how someone wasn't finding success because they had a plan B, they had a way out. And that could be like, you have a well-paying job, you have a spouse who makes money, so you don't really need your MLM. And in that case, like you do have a cushion. So if you already have a good job or your spouse has a good job and you're not making any money, you can quit if you want to, right? Like it's not always that easy, of course, but you're not under as much financial stress to make it work. And therefore you will be more aware of the red flags, because potentially, I know it's more complicated. You may not be as desperate as someone who is in, say, a bad situation with like their mental health, or they don't have any friends, but they also need the money. They also need Beachbody to work. And unfortunately, those people are in such a vulnerable position that they may ignore the red flags or just not notice them. What do you think?
They're fearless. And so I want you to know that they actually may be fearful, but they do the things that they identify they need to do regardless.
Coaches who find their level of success may be fearful, but they do the things they need to do. Yeah, so you're ignoring your gut feeling, you're ignoring your fear, and you're just doing it anyways, right? And I think it's fair and reasonable to do things that make you a little bit anxious if it's going to bring you value and it's going to improve yourself as a human. But I never do something if I know it's not going to be valuable for me, if I know I'm just going to have a huge anxiety attack the whole time, if I know it pushes my personal boundary, I will not do it. But if I am just a little bit nervous about something, or I worry that I'm not going to do a good job at something, or like I'm worried about like the social interaction, just do it, right? So I see value in the just do it, but I think it's also very harmful and toxic.
And it's almost like they use their team when they're fearful, but they use fear as a tailwind as opposed to a headwind. Like they take it head on. They know that I'm scared. I'm so scared. It makes my stomach hurt to even say it out loud, but I'm doing it anyway. Like those are the characteristics of these people who are reaching their desired success. And they share regardless of being perfect or the house being clean or the kids being clothed. And they're also not necessarily trying to save the world.
That's another thing. So the top coaches are always portrayed as like hot mess mom express. And they're always like, I think it's sometimes a little bit of a show. They're like acting really frazzled and they'll say, oh, I was up with my baby until 4 a.m. last night. And of course, like they could be frazzled. They could have been up that late with their baby, but I think it's used as a way to say like, look, I'm so relatable. I'm so messy. I don't have any time, but I'm doing my Beachbody business anyways, even though I'm such a hot mess mom express, or whatever that saying is. Do you know what I mean?
They're starting with them. They're starting with friends or family. They're starting with asking to link arms with the team that you're currently on. And because of that, that's how the world ends up being impacted. And that's how all the starfish get saved. But
that's how all the starfish get saved. Anyone who happens to watch this video, what does that mean? Have you heard of that saying before? And I've talked about this 1,000 times on my channel. Beachbody is not impacting the world, at least not in a positive way, impacts it in a negative way when vulnerable men and women are drawn into a fraudulent pyramid scheme structure and they are conditioned to believe it's okay that they're losing money every month or putting themselves into greater debt, because if they just keep going, if they just keep moving, they will find their desired level of success at some point. What do you think?
But to end this, and I'll take some questions before we pass it. I started this by saying that events like this really changes people's businesses. And so hopefully you're really leaning on your team, leaning on this group of people to get exactly what you need to get in order to reach your next level of success. And I also liken it to the idea, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro last year, and it was really cool because I'm a collegiate athlete. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
So while she's telling us this, just remember we're at a Beachbody corporate training call. Remember her motive. Remember the point she's trying to make. In my opinion, I think she's trying to compare her really cool experience climbing a massive ass mountain to Beachbody. What do you think? Let me know.
And on day 6 of 6, I'm climbing down the mountain and I see this incredible team. Let me show you guys a picture. Oh, do you mind allowing me to share my screen? Sorry. So I'll preface it. So, we're day 6 and I'm coming like I'm on a high. If there's a cloud 10, I'm on cloud 10 coming down this mountain. And I'm just like, I can't believe I just did this. The summit night was literally the hardest thing I've ever done. In the first 45 minutes, my water was frozen, my toes, I had on layers upon layers upon layers. I mean, it was just everything that you can imagine. Okay, thank you.
I may be overthinking it a little bit like I usually do on my channel. She's saying it was such a hard day when she went up to the top of the mountain. Doesn't sound like my idea of fun, sounds miserable. And she went through a lot of really significant hardships, but she still was able to achieve her goal because she persevered. She just pushed through and she got to the top of the mountain. I think in my opinion, she's comparing it to Beachbody. You're going to go through obstacles. You might drop your rank. You might lose income. One of your top coaches might leave. You might be stuck at a rank for 2 years, but if you just persevere, you'll get to the top of your mountain too.
And I'm coming down and I see this team. And I frantically pull out my phone so I can take a picture because...
Did you ask them before taking a picture of them? I hope so, but probably not.
as soon as I saw them, one, I was inspired, but two, it reminded me of what we do and of events like this and what you guys are going to do by really making the most out of your time together. But let me explain what's going on. So there's a team of people, which, by the way, you cannot climb the tallest freestanding mountain without a team. I went as a solo climber, and you literally cannot climb the mountain without a team.
You just said you went as a solo climber. So can you do it by yourself or can you not?
And I think that is something to be said in itself. That's probably a whole nother topic that we can talk about. But
you're right, because you can't find any success in Beachbody. You can't get to the top of your stupid Beachbody mountain without a massive team underneath you. So you're right, corporate Beachbody employee.
This team, there's a guy and a girl in the front, and they have on waist contraption belts, and they have hiking sticks, and they are digging deep, and they are literally pulling their friend up Mount Kilimanjaro. Their friend, who has on the neon green hat, he is willing himself up the mountain with his arms, and there's someone else carrying the wheelchair behind him. But to me, this was like your team, right? Because the only thing I know about this team outside of they were from Germany is that they all had individual goals to climb the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. And because they came together as a team, the team was able to make it to the top, whereas their friend, maybe with a different team, but their friend for sure would not have been able to make it to the top of the mountain without a team, period.
So you're right again, miss. You cannot get to the top of Beachbody without a massive team underneath you. Unfortunately, the difference here is these individuals in the video, they all made it to the top of the mountain because they worked together. They all had a specific role and they achieved their goal, right? In Beachbody, Lindsay Matway's team is not at the top of the company. She is. Lindsay Matway's team is not. They don't get elite recognition. She does because she's at the top of the company. So that doesn't make any sense. I get what you're trying to say. You're gonna say like we're a beautiful community. We all work together to achieve our goals. But in reality, it's just those at the top who get amazing recognition and who can get to the top of the company, because not everyone can get to the top of Beachbody, because then at the top would be the bottom, just keep going up and up and up. And then you wouldn't have anyone left in the world, literally.
Period. And so when I think about events like this, I think about you setting your own individual goals to climb to the top of your proverbial mountain and linking arms with your team and digging deep together, figuring out the strategy, figuring out how to hold each other accountable, breaking things down and reverse engineering them, leaning in when life happens and making it to the top of your mountain.
Leaning in when life happens, in my opinion, that's translated to if you have a traumatic experience, if a family member dies, if you get sick, if your child is going through something, if something happened to your spouse, don't take time off to be with your family and your loved ones and heal yourself. Lean into a Beachbody community and just push through. When people do that, in my opinion, say they just lost their father and then they continue to work their Beachbody business, I think that could make someone even more dependent on their Beachbody team because they're the people who help them through the most horrible time of their life. And so I think that kind of statement, just pushing through even though something terrible happened, that could make it even harder for people to leave if they had to rely on their team to get through a traumatic experience.
So y'all, that's it. I know that we're about to start talking about the compensation plan, which that's probably one of the biggest shifts that I see in coaches when they really begin to understand that compensation plan. That's when light bulbs go off.
You're right. When they understand the compensation plan, they know that nothing is going to happen just from selling, and they know they have to recruit. And so then they'll just message hundreds and hundreds of people, and maybe they'll be lucky enough to get a few people on their team. So you're right.
That's when their coaches begin to understand it. And that's when more lives begin to be impacted. So those 5 tips or characteristics
negatively impacted.
Just one last time before we go into the compensation plan: commit to a program. And I'm talking about commit all out with the nutrition program, and not just for yourself. I'm talking about use your social media, commit to us that you're doing it. Show us what you're doing. Show us why you're doing it. Show us how you're stronger because you're doing it. 2,
Beachbody programs are not life-changing. They're not revolutionary. Yes, a few of you have said in the comments, some of them are good. They're fun workouts. Someone went into a little bit of detail about the sample workout for 4 weeks for everybody, explaining why it was a solid workout. And like, yes, I agree. The programs are solid, but they're not, in my opinion, they're not revolutionary or life-changing. You can find very similar workouts on YouTube for free. So yes, they are good programs, but you can find similar results with other programs, in my opinion. And there's only 2 nutrition programs now, 3, I guess, with 4 weeks for everybody. What if those nutrition programs don't work for you? What if you have a history of disordered eating and you don't want to do those kinds of restrictive programs? What if you have food sensitivities and so you can't eat a lot of the food with those programs? Not everyone can do these 3 Beachbody programs, nutrition programs. It's not possible. Just like not everyone can do every single fitness program. Not everyone can do the 3 options that people have for a Beachbody nutrition program.
Stay in phase 1. Even as a 15-star diamond, you never spend less than 50% of your time building your business. That means that at 15-star, we're still doing 50% of the stuff that we did on day 1 when we had no team. 50% of our day is the stuff that we were doing on day 1, even as a 15-star. So we're staying in phase 1 and using that Success Club system tracker.
Yeah, so I think all she means by that is like, yeah, just doing the tracker, doing the basic income producing activities. And like, it's not exactly the same because a 15-star diamond, as long as they just keep their 15 diamonds, like they're not going to drop rank. They're like, if they don't do their IPAs, their income producing activities, their income is not going to fall because they have hundreds or thousands of people underneath them.
We're going fast and strong. You get to define what that means for you, but we have to build momentum. And the only way we can do it is by going fast and strong. And so use this month to do that. Use this cup month, use this event to build the momentum and to create the momentum to truly go reach those goals that you set for yourself. And that means that you have to know what your goal is too. And that was the challenge that I gave you. Get excited about Beachbody and the future of Beachbody while you brand yourself. And lastly, be bold and be brave.
You're not brave for sending, hey girls, I'm sorry. I like to say, oh, go against what society tells you to do and join Beachbody and like be an entrepreneur. It's amazing. Not everyone can do it. So you're brave for doing it. You're not brave. Like people who are brave in their employment, those are like nurses and or social workers or like teachers have to be brave, right? People who it's like people who have the well-being, the safety, the lives of people in their hands day to day, those people are brave at work. I don't have a job where I have to be brave at all. I just sit in an office. Very few people have to be brave at work. And in my opinion, Beachbody coaches are not one of those groups. What do you think?
And use your team. So Doug is here. I'm going to pass it over to him.
Thank you.
So that's all I want to talk about today. This is a team retreat. And so these people are talking to these people on the screen. I don't know if I'll have to blur out their faces. I might if they're like super obvious, but that's okay. What did you think about that? I thought she talked a lot, but didn't really say a whole lot, in my opinion. Got to bleed Beachbody blue. You got to do the programs. You got to commit. And she screamed at us about committing. Got to commit for the whole world to see why you're doing it. What do you think? I think there's a lot of motivational, inspirational garbage and not many actual tactical things. But then again, in the second part of this video, there'll be more tactical information about the compensation plan from my bestie, Doug Moss. So that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.